Abel Roy stood frozen in the doorway of the penthouse nursery, watching his 3-year-old son sob into his tiny hands. The toys around him lay untouched, scattered like memories of a time that had just been shattered. The woman who had once called herself Abel's wife walked away without looking back, heels clicking on the marble floor like gunshots in his heart. "I'm not made to be a mother," Angel had said just minutes before. "And I'm tired of pretending to be the woman you think I should be." "You can have everything, Abel. The company, the money, even John." He didn't reply. He couldn't. Words had failed him in the worst moment of his life. And now here he was, CEO of Roytech, billionaire, power broker, investor, and completely helpless in front of a crying child who didn't understand why his mother had just vanished like smoke. For weeks, John barely spoke. He screamed through the night, refused to eat, and shrunk from every woman Abel hired to care for him. The maids came and went like seasons. None lasted more than a week. Abel kept his distance, too consumed with board meetings, acquisitions, and masking the cracks in his life. He told himself he was doing the best he could, that John needed stability, a routine, and that he, Abel Roy, would fix this the same way he fixed everything, by paying for it. But money couldn't buy back a mother, and it certainly couldn't buy love. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here and supporting what I do. Your comments and feedback mean the world to me. If you enjoyed this, please take a moment to leave a comment and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future updates. I love hearing from you, and your support helps keep this community growing. Thanks again, and let's keep the conversation going. It was Mrs. Garcia, the housekeeper, who insisted he try again. "There's a new girl, Mr. Roy," she said one morning, placing a coffee mug gently on the edge of his desk. "She's different. She's not scared of the boy's silence. She listens. She's kind." "I've heard that before," Abel muttered, scanning an email. "How long until this one quits?" "She won't," Mrs. Garcia said. "She lost her mother young. She knows how it feels." Abel didn't look up until later that night, when he saw something he hadn't seen in months. John was laughing. Real, belly-deep, full-hearted laughter. It floated through the hallway like music. Curious and cautious, Abel stepped closer to the playroom and paused in the doorway. Inside, a young woman was on the floor, her long hair tucked behind one ear, her hands covered in finger paint. She was laughing too, not caring that John had smeared red and blue all over her apron. "I'm making a dinosaur," John announced proudly. "It's the most ferocious dinosaur I've ever seen," she said, eyes wide with admiration. Abel stared, stunned. "Who are you?" he asked. The woman looked up, caught off guard, but not intimidated. "I'm Juliet," she said simply. "The new maid." Juliet had a way of making the house feel less like a museum and more like a home. She talked to John, not at him. She listened when he had nightmares. She waited outside his room until he fell asleep. She made his favorite food, even when it was just toast cut into dinosaur shapes. And slowly, Abel began to notice the small things. The way Juliet always hummed when she cooked. The way she'd sneak a flower from the garden and place it in a glass by the kitchen sink. The way her eyes crinkled when John said something silly. He also noticed the way his chest tightened when she laughed. He hated himself for noticing. She worked for him. She was here to help, not to be part of his life. But he couldn't stop. At night, he'd replay their conversations in his head. How she once said, "Kids don't need perfect parents. They just need to be loved hard." Or how she brushed off her past with a sad smile and said, "Loss changes you, but love can change you back." One night, after John had fallen asleep and the house was wrapped in silence, Abel found Juliet in the kitchen, making tea. "Thank you," he said suddenly. She turned. "For what?" "For staying." Juliet smiled. He needed someone to stay. Abel nodded. "So did I." Abel tried to keep the lines clear. He kept his words polite, his tone professional. He told himself that everything he felt was just gratitude, nothing more. But the way he'd linger in the hallway to hear her read bedtime stories, that wasn't gratitude. The way he noticed the curve of her smile or the light in her eyes, that wasn't professional. He was falling for her, and he hated himself for it. She was the help. He was the billionaire. The world would never understand. His board already whispered about his divorce. Scandal could destroy him. His son needed a father, not a man wrapped up in a forbidden romance. So Abel pulled back. He worked longer hours. He skipped breakfast. He stopped waiting for her to finish John's stories before walking away. And each time he saw her face fall when he ignored her, it crushed something inside him. But Juliet never complained. She kept showing up. She kept loving John like he was her own. And that only made Abel love her more. It was storming that night. The rain came down in heavy sheets, and thunder echoed through the house. John had a fever. Juliet sat by his bed, a cool cloth pressed to his forehead, whispering softly to calm him down. Abel paced in the hallway, helpless again. Memories of the night Angel left came flooding back. The crying, the fear, the cold that wrapped around his heart. "I should have protected him from all this," he whispered, voice low and tight. "You're doing your best," Juliet said, stepping out to stand beside him. "You're not alone anymore, Abel." He looked at her, then really looked. Her eyes weren't full of judgment or pity, just understanding. "I don't know how to be a father," he confessed. "You're already one," she said. "You show up. That's what matters." Abel reached for her hand without thinking. Their fingers touched. Warmth shot through him like lightning. Juliet didn't pull away. Abel's hand was still wrapped around Juliet's when John whimpered from the room. She gently pulled away and disappeared inside without saying a word. The hallway felt colder without her warmth. The next morning, John's fever had broken. He was smiling again, asking Juliet for pancakes in his dinosaur voice. Abel stood in the kitchen doorway, watching them. "Dina wants blueberry." John roared. "Dina will get blueberry," Juliet laughed, tying her apron. Abel didn't speak until John ran off to play. "Last night," he said softly, "I shouldn't have held your hand." Juliet wiped her hands on a towel and looked at him. "Do you regret it?" He hesitated. "No, but I shouldn't have let it happen." Juliet nodded slowly, her eyes calm. "We both know the rules." "But I want to break them," he said before he could stop himself. She looked at him for a long moment, her face unreadable. "Then you have to be sure. Because if we cross that line, everything changes. For John, for me, for you." Abel didn't answer. He turned and walked away, his heart racing. The news came 2 days later. A tabloid article titled, "Billionaire Roy's New Flame," made rumors stir after late-night sighting. Someone had seen them at the local pharmacy, picking up medicine for John. The photo wasn't clear, but the story was enough to spark whispers in the boardroom. "You're making the company look weak," his CFO said bluntly. This made Juliet, whatever her name is, she's a liability. Abel stared at the man with an expression like steel. "She saved my son when no one else could. If anyone hears a liability, it's the ones who told me to fire her." Later that night, Abel found Juliet in the garden, her hands resting on the petals of a white rose. "You saw the article," she said. "I don't care about them." "You should," she said quietly. "Because they care about you." Abel reached out and touched her hand. "I care about you." She looked up, surprised. "I've spent months pretending that my feelings didn't matter, that I was just grateful, that this house was only a house, and you were just a maid. But you're not." Her eyes shimmered, but her voice stayed steady. "I don't want to be a secret, Abel. I can't live in the shadows." "You won't be," he promised. But promises made in moonlight are often tested by daylight. The next morning, Abel came downstairs with a firm look in his eyes. He called for Juliet and Mrs. Garcia to join him in the living room. "I'm putting out a public statement," he said. "I'm stepping down from Roytech temporarily. Effective immediately." Mrs. Garcia gasped. Juliet froze. "What?" Juliet whispered. "Why would you do that?" "Because I forgot what matters. I built an empire and nearly lost my son. And now I'm falling in love, and I won't risk it for anyone." Juliet's lips parted. Her breath caught. "You're falling in love?" "I already have," Abel said. "With you." Tears gathered in her eyes. "And John," Abel smiled softly. "He's already in love with you too." For a while, things were beautiful, peaceful, like a dream. They took John to the park. Juliet cooked, while Abel learned how to fold laundry and change bedtime routines. They danced in the living room when John was asleep, laughed over burnt pancakes, kissed under the soft glow of the kitchen light. But something was off. Mail was missing. Abel's lawyer mentioned an anonymous tip that Angel, Abel's ex-wife, was filing for custody again, claiming that the boy was living with a maid who had no legal authority. She abandoned him, Abel growled. That doesn't matter in court, the lawyer replied. If she paints Juliet as unstable or unqualified, it could hurt your chances. Abel clenched his fists. Then we'll fix it. I'll marry her. The room fell silent. Abel, Juliet started. No, I'm not saying it because of court. I'm saying it because I want to. I want you. I want this. All of it. There were no rose petals. No music. Just Juliet in the hallway, holding John's hand, and Abel down on one knee. I've built buildings and bought companies. But nothing I've built or bought has ever made me feel the way I do when you're near, he said. You're the home I didn't know I needed. Marry me. Juliet dropped to her knees, pulling John into a hug between them. Her yes was whispered into both their hearts. 2 nights before the wedding, Juliet went silent. She sat by the window, her eyes on the moon, her hands clenched. There's something I never told you, she said. Abel stiffened. What is it? She swallowed. The reason I connect with John, it's because I lost a child. Before I met you. His breath caught. I was a teenager. I didn't have support. I was scared. I made mistakes. My daughter died. And I've never stopped feeling like I failed her. Tears slid down her cheeks. I needed you to know. Before we start a new chapter. You deserve honesty. Abel walked to her and took her hands. Thank you for telling me. You're not angry? He shook his head. Juliet, your past doesn't make me love you less. It only makes me see how strong you are. The wedding was small. Just John, Mrs. Garcia, and a garden full of fresh flowers. Abel held Juliet's hand as they spoke their vows. John stood between them, grinning with a flower crown Juliet had made him. There were no suits or gowns. Just a promise. A promise to be present, to show up, to love even when it's hard. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Juliet looked up at Abel and smiled. You used to be so cold, she teased. And you melted every part of me, he said, kissing her forehead. Abel never returned to Roytech full-time. He built a foundation instead, focused on helping single parents, especially those in domestic jobs. Juliet ran the center, often bringing John along to play with the children. They lived in a smaller house by the lake. A house filled with laughter, pancakes, bedtime stories, and love. People whispered, of course. They always would. But Abel no longer cared. Because in Juliet's smile and John's laughter, he found a kind of wealth that no stock could measure. And for the first time in his life, he felt rich in all the ways that mattered. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here and supporting what I do. Your comments and feedback mean the world to me. If you enjoyed this, please take a moment to leave a comment and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future updates. I love hearing from you, and your support helps keep this community growing. Thanks again, and let's keep the conversation going.